Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Mike Ames Recruitment Show, where we are talking about how you can make time to change your business. It's not the sexiest of topics, but it's one which will have a huge effect on you and your business because you can build a better business because you've got the free time to do so. And to do that today, it is, in fact, just me and Big Mike himself. How you doing, big guy?
If I was a box of chocolates, I'd eat myself first because I'm on holiday at the moment. I'm in the Welsh Weekender by the seaside. And this morning I got up, our bedroom window overlooks the sea, and I looked down, and unusually for the Irish Sea, it was crystal clear and flat. I mean, literally Mediterranean clear. Brilliant. So I went for a swim first thing. How poncy is that?
That's the dream. I think that many people would call that the dream, actually, Mike.
It was flipping cold, I tell you that, but it's a lot warmer than it has been. Again, the Irish Sea, not quite the Mediterranean, I'll give you that, but it was absolutely brilliant. So it's all good. So having a good time down here and living the big life.
Yes, and for those of you listening on the podcast, Mike is drinking from a mug which has a Welsh dragon on it, which he in fact painted himself.
This
whole thing.
Hang on.
There it is. It does say Big Mike on it.
We went and did a painting thing with the kids, and this, I can't tell you whose effort this is.
Oh, look at it. That's mine. I did that. That's me. It's a pink dragon for those, a Welsh dragon, but coloured pink.
Yeah. So enough of such frippery. Let's get
frippery. Let's talk about today's topic then, Mike, because it actually links to that. You and I just had a week off down Wales with you and with my nieces and nephews, and being able to I took a week and I didn't look at my emails. I took time off. I'm having time, whether it's time that you plan for holidays, whether it's time that you work on your business. Why is this so important to have as a business owner?
For the reasons you say, really, is that when you're getting on, I think, in business, when you've been going for a bit, like I have, it's time. I wanted time to do other things. So I went down from 5 days to 3 days because Mrs. Ames wanted me to. Quite frankly, I would have stayed doing 5 days because I like work. But Mrs. Ames was sort of adamant, and for 40 years she's been very supportive of me with my various ventures. And so when she made it clear to me that it was her time now and she didn't expect me to work 5 days anymore, that's what happened. So the techniques I'm going to show you today are what we use with our clients, but I use them on myself and freed up 2 days a week. 2 days. So 40% of my week was freed up for what I'm about to show you. Now, I reinvested that into golf, mainly, actually. Whatever.
Which would excuse that shirt, I'm assuming?
This is, golf shirt. Yeah, I'm going to play a little later. So
it's the only reason everyone would wear that.
I know. But I think in your early years of business, you should reinvest that time into the business, not to do more of the stuff that you do, but to develop the business, to make it generate more money with less involvement from you. Now, the important thing to remember is that takes time. You get this a lot, is that people think they can just changes can happen. I don't know, magically they do, or maybe if they think about it very hard at night when they're going to sleep, the next morning they'll wake up and the changes will be done. I don't know. But that's just not true. If you want the business to change, you have to find some significant amounts of time to change it, right? So what we're talking about here is either at the far end of your career, you want to take time off, but you don't want your revenues to drop, or at the beginning, you want to make more money but work less. It's the same thing, really.
Okay. Now, that makes a lot of sense to me. In order to do that, the way that we work and the way that your brain works is that you create a system to help free up time. And that is sort of what we're going to talk about today, isn't it? The system. Can you elaborate for me on what goes into this system, please?
Yeah, I've been doing this for years and years and years. I used to teach many years ago lawyers and accountants how to be more efficient in business, really. A part of that was BD, but not much of it because they don't like doing BD. But we specifically focused on this, on time management. And because we only get so much time ourselves. So if we want more done, we've got to get other people to do it, or there are some things you can do. So we use this simple three-step system. I used it to free up 2 days a week, and you can use it to free up as much time as you want, I suppose. Right. Okay. So the first thing before I start, I just want to say this one thing, Kirsty. Quite often people are busy. they've got a belief that they can't free up any time. No, everything I do is important. This is it. That is just not a great mental attitude. The mental attitude to go into this is, I want to free up, and then put a specific amount of time. I want to free up a day a week, because I'm going to invest that in the business, except for one Friday a month where I'm just going to take that off for myself and do what I want to do.
Go yoga retreat.
And I do not want revenues to drop. In fact, I want revenues to go up. That's the mentality. That's the starting point, right? Anyway, so the first thing is data capture. Now, a lot of people misunderstand what I'm about to say, so I'm going to say it quite slowly, because it's me, not you. Hey, it's me, not you. But you have to document the activities that you do in the month. You have to write them down. Now, the more granular you are, the better. But this is where people misunderstand. They think they've got to do the whole month. So when they finish doing something, oh, make a note, just did an email. No, I don't mean that. Because what we're looking for is activities that block or take a certain amount of time each day or each week. We want to identify those. And we're also looking for things that perhaps we do, but the benefit of doing those is negligible. And in some cases, there just isn't one. And we do that for all sorts of reasons. We'll talk about that in a minute, right? But what we're looking for is target activities.
So you're grouping them together. So if you were talking so would you talk about, for an hour and a half, I did resourcing. For 40 minutes, I did BD calls. Or are you going to a level below that?
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. That's fine, because what you'll find is there's blocks of time. Like, I'm going to show you my time in a minute, just as an example, but you'll see blocks of time, and then you can dig into those blocks of time and take it down to the next level. Okay. So you might say resourcing. Well, we all know resourcing is made up of lots of things, from searching databases and job boards and LinkedIn or whatever, all the way through to sending emails out, picking the phone, speaking to people. Resourcing is quite a big chunky thing. So when we identify that we spend a shed load of time on resourcing, we might think, I wonder if I could break that down and get rid of some of those activities and keep some for myself. So it's hard to do just in a 45-minute session that we've got today, but you need to identify target activities.
So if I may suggest, then you, like, maybe for the first week, you sort of target the main topics or main areas that you do, like resourcing, BD, mucking about on my phone, whatever it is that you're doing, picking up your kids, I guess. And then maybe week 2, 3, and 4, you delve deeper. If resourcing is taking up 75% of your day, then it's clear that resourcing is the part that you're hoping to free time with. Is that how
many of the things that you do that you subconsciously do, they're the things we're looking for, really. So you realize that you spend 7 hours a week doing admin, say, or you spend an hour and a half a week arranging meetings, or 2 hours arranging meetings for yourself, or whatever. They're things that you do that need to be done. There's no question you need to do these things, but do you need to do them yourself? That's the question. And that's where it gets a bit nutty, but we're going to talk about that in a minute, because I think there's a big question around that. But don't worry about that in this stage. We're just looking at the data capture, writing things down.
So you're writing things down. Are you talking like on a pen and paper, or are you using something like Toggle? Toggle's a good one if you wanted to use an online thing.
You do it Toggle, TOGGL, I think it's called. Yeah, I just used a piece of paper and I did it. But hey, you can use whatever. But you're just looking for things, and you're adding up how much time you spend roughly. It doesn't have to be precise. Don't go overboard, please. Don't let perfection get in the way of progress on this, right? And you just realize that takes up a lot of work. Stop the data capture from that point on.
Okay.
Stop. It's time to go into step 2, which is analysis. So you've got these activities and you're thinking they take up a lot of time. I suspect that somebody else could do them, or maybe I don't need to do them at all. Maybe if I stop doing them, nothing bad would happen. And what we need to do is then begin to understand how we can get rid of these activities or minimize the impact on us for those activities, because that's where you make the most time saving.
Okay, so let me just summarize back what I've heard. We've done some analysis. We've captured some data, which is basically created some areas for us to improve. So it's clear that we spend too much time on this, or we have this activity, which is a time sucker for us. So then we're going to go in and determine which of those activities we can get rid of, whether we give them to somebody else or stop doing them. Is that the premise?
Essentially, yeah, you've got three options, really. You can delegate them to someone who works with you. If you don't have anybody, you can outsource them to somebody outside of the business, like a VA or something. Or my absolute favorite, which is how I made most of the 2 days that I made, is I stopped doing certain things. We have sacred cows that we do because we've always done them. And we just have got into the habit, really. A habit is your enemy with this, because we do this now because we've always done it. Or when we work for another company, they did it and I've done it. So, you just inherit without thinking something and carry on doing it. And there's usually, when I do this with my clients, there's normally a lot of things in that space that we can pick up. And then it's just being able to take the brave step of just not doing them anymore. Like that event that you go to every month. It's fun, it's enjoyable, you get to chat to people. And if you had loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of time, you would definitely go and have a great time. But you don't. You're trying to save time to reinvest into something in the business, into activities that will make a massive difference to your business. That's what you're trying to do here. There's a term, there's indulgence and waste. So indulgent is when you do something and you shouldn't be doing it, but you do it because you like it, right? Indulgence is oftentimes for small businesses a luxury that you can't afford. And what we do is we convince ourselves we need to do it. Oh, yeah, I need to go to that event because, I do a lot of networking. I don't get any business from it, right? But I've met loads of people and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'm sure there is some benefit from it. But in comparison to other parts of the business, which need a lot more time, it isn't worth it. Stop going.
So it's sort of reprioritization almost. Yes, there is possibly a benefit to this. Like there's a benefit to eating a banana. Of course there is. But you compare that to having a full meal. I know which one's going to give my body more fuel. That kind of vibe.
Yeah. It's prioritization. But it's because we get into the habit of doing things. It's just habitual. And that's our enemy. So we need to break the habits. And it feels wrong. If you've got the right things because it's feeling that no, I should continue to do this. It's like, I don't know, people that write a LinkedIn post every day. Right now, we all know there's lots of benefits from writing LinkedIn posts. For sure there is. Right? But do you really need to do it every day right now? Right now, is it necessary? Because there's other parts of your business that you can invest that time into and get a much better return. So it's not that these things are bad necessarily. You're looking at the relative benefits. Or you're saying to yourself, just for a period of time, I won't do this.
Okay.
I won't do this for a period of time. And therefore, you can carry on at some point in the future. You can go back to it. You won't actually, strangely enough, but most people don't. But you can. And I think that's the area to be the most brutal with yourself and the most honest, because that's the thing that really gets things... frees up bunches of time, like bunches of time. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got two questions I want to ask, and then we are going to delve a little bit deeper into delegation in a moment, so I'm not going to bring that up just yet. Number one, the question I was going to ask is, do you think sometimes people keep doing those things like writing the LinkedIn post or going to the networking event because they don't know what to do instead?
There is an element of that. Yeah, we are going to talk about that later in the show, because I think the point of freeing time up, if it isn't to play golf, the point of freeing time up is to reinvest it into something that the business can really benefit from. That you can actually have what they call it a leverage. So it's a small amount of movement results in a large amount of results. And that's what we're looking for. So unless you know what those things are, chances are you'll either free time up and then squander it on something else, right? I mean, emails are the worst culprit, to tell you the truth. Email management burns so much time because a lot of people are like, especially recruiters, are complete finishers, because you kind of have to be successful in recruitment. So part of that is you've got an email in your inbox, you need to process it. And you think, well, okay, that particular email, if I don't do anything with it, or if I don't do a full reply, if I just say no thanks, or I don't spend a lot of time on it, right? What's the worst that can happen? And if you add up email time, I mean, that's one of the things you should do as part of this, is how much time you actually spend doing emails. And the best way to do that, by the way, for this exercise, is to have email time, block out time for emails, because then it's really easy to see how much time you're spending on emails. And of course, as a recruiter, a lot of your really important stuff is email, because it's getting stuff back from candidates and clients is really important. But there's a lot of stuff in there that's just a complete waste of time. And every time you do that, you're burning time that you could reinvest somewhere else. So nothing is sacred, Kirsty. Yeah. Everything is up for grabs.
Okay. And obviously there's code switching, is moving from one task to another takes mental time as well. So
it does, it does, yeah.
So the other question I'm going to have, which I imagine a lot of people are thinking who are watching and listening to this, is the use of tools, the use of kind of online things, the AIs and various other things. Is this the kind of thing that I should be using instead?
Yeah, well, we all know there's a lot of hyperbole around AI at the moment, and I'm a big fan. I use it pretty much every day. But you need to be careful if you're taking an activity that you do and you get a machine to do it. I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying you need to be careful, because very often, I mean, the machine doesn't understand what it's reading. You must know that. AI is not intelligent. It doesn't understand what it's reading. It does its best with what it's given. It's processing data is what it's doing. It doesn't understand that data. So it's doing its best, but very often it's just not right. And so it's okay. Like, for example, after a meeting, I'll get my PA, part of the process that she's got, she's triggered when I have a meeting. She puts the transcript into AI. She gives it a prompt that she's been given. She takes 100 words summary of that and she puts it onto CRM for me. And then she sets a follow-up meeting. It's a little process. I don't need to do any of that. She does it, right? That saves me about an hour a week. But between 1 and 2 hours a week, depends on how busy I am. Right. So that's okay. That's absolutely fine. It's a summary. I just get a feel for that meeting next time I look at it, so I can get myself back into speed. If it's like taking tasks, say, for example, we did some work on this and we use Copilot. It missed about 10% of the actions that came out of a meeting, right, on average. Mm-hmm. Well, if a meeting generates activities or actions, they should be important and you shouldn't miss any of them. So you need to be careful when you use AI in certain roles. We all know it's here to stay. It's going to get better, for sure it is. But the other thing is, I wouldn't let AI anywhere near anything that touches external people. You'd be very careful of that. So I don't let AI write my emails to me. I write them because I want it to be me. Mm-hmm. It's this balance. But what tools will do is make you more efficient, for sure. What stopping doing things will do, or completely outsourcing the responsibility will do, is save massive chunks of time. So
okay. All right. So we are going to look at delegation in a moment. So let me just summarize what I've heard so far. So far, we've recorded our activities for a month to try and find the areas that are really time consuming or dominating our time, to try and free up some time in that. Then once we've discovered that, we analyze it. So we look at not only what it is that we're doing, what in there is potentially work, but not contributing a valuable enough response based on the time that we're spending on it. If we're spending an hour on it, we better be getting a decent return on our investment, whether that's networking, emails, various other things.
Yeah.
We're figuring out what stuff is just habit that doesn't really add any value. It's just something that we've always done, perhaps is no longer irrelevant. And we have sometimes potentially taken a risk and said, I'm just not going to do that. That one thing, I'm just going to stop.
Let me give you an example of that, right? So one of them is like a sales meeting. We have a weekly sales meeting where we all sit together and talk about what we're doing. In truth be told, they're pretty pointless, quite frankly, because for most of the time, the people sit there and they're not really interested in whatever else is going on until it's their turn to talk. Mm-hmm. And they're no use to zero in on someone's lack of performance, because that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's no sense championing someone else who's done tremendous great work, because that alienates everyone else. So that's something that instead of having an hour sales meeting, a 15-minute, come on, let's get going. Everybody name one thing that's happened to them, but if you have it daily or weekly or whatever, since the last meeting, that's really positive, can be at work or not work. And everybody tell us the one thing going to be between now and the next meeting, right? Okay, let's go. Honestly, so because it's something people have always done, so that's a really important check and balance. Is just because you've always done it doesn't necessarily mean to say it should always be done.
Okay, perfect. And there is an argument, which we're going to go into in a second, about what we delegate to tools such as AIs or programs versus what we delegate to a person. And we're going to come to that in just a second. But before then, it is in fact time for our sponsored message, Mike. Once again, we're sponsoring ourselves.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Oh no, that's not me. Oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. Okay.
You,
okay. Right. So we're going to talk about something that has the biggest impact on our business. It's something that we do every 2 weeks. It's something you're sharing with us right now. It's the live stream that we do. Now, from the live stream, you may actually be listening to this on Spotify or Apple or watching it on YouTube. The thing that's on LinkedIn is then used over and over again. And once a month, we produce a written blog or newsletter from this show. This is by far and away the most powerful business development tool that we have, bar none. It sits on top of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an enabler because we produce it on LinkedIn and people find out who we are on LinkedIn. But this is the thing that brings it all together. So we are running a free workshop on how to launch a live podcast. Okay, so we're going to show you how to not just run your podcast, but how to set it up just like this one so that you can gradually build the benefits into your BD engine that we have. So what we're going to do is show you how to choose compelling topics. That's really important, else no one will come. The structure of the show. There is one. It might not seem like it, but we have one. How to invite guests on, which is important because you want the guests that are going to add value to the people that you provide the podcast for. How to get lots of attendees. You don't want too many. I'll explain why another time, but you want just enough to be able to feed your pipeline. And more importantly, I suppose, how to use it as a powerful sales tool. That's really important. It's not just having it and keeping our fingers crossed. We have to do something with it to turn it into a sales tool. And Kirsty shows you how to do this in the workshop. Now, it's 1 hour online workshop. It's free of charge. There's no charge. And also there's no sales pitches. It's not the way in which it works. If you're interested in taking this further with Kirsty, you go to her and you ask her and she'll explain what you can do. But there's no pitches in the workshop. The next one that we have is on the 2nd of September, which is 1 p.m. I say 1 hour. We always say don't book anything back to back with it, because if it runs over, it runs over. It's a workshop, they can take longer. Very small number of attendees. It's a handful of people that go to these things because then it's a proper workshop. Everybody has time to ask questions and understand exactly what's going on. And Kirsty will provide some notes and some of the key screens later on. Now, if you would like to attend this workshop with Kirsty, just put a live into the comments and she will very happily reach out to you and send you a one-pager for you to then decide whether it's the right thing for you. If you're watching a recording of this or you're listening to this on Spotify, then just email live, L-I-V-E, to kirsty@flair.co.uk. So that's Kirsty at Flair, FLAIR.co.uk. And she will very happily explain to you how this workshop works.
I will indeed. I just like doing them, really. I just like them.
Look what Emma's just put there.
Emma's put a comment. Oh, here we go, Emma. That's very kind. Emma said she attended the workshop that I last ran. It was amazing, really helpful, and would highly recommend. Very kind of you to say, Emma. Thank you very much. Okay, so
we didn't plan that. We didn't send Emma £20, although £20 will be in the post to you, Emma, obviously.
Neither here nor there. Okay, right. So, Mike, let's go back into this now. I want to talk about delegation. So let's say I've recorded my tasks. I've discovered that I have tasks that are time consuming, but that need to be done. These aren't things that I can just get rid of and stop doing. They do need to be done. So I need to delegate them. So my questions are, what can I delegate and who do I delegate to?
Well, we use a system called the 4 T's. right? I'm going to answer those questions by looking into those T's. Use this for years and years and years, right? So well, these aren't tasks. If it's a task, you just say, look, can you do this for me? I need it done by this date, and this is why. And the first time that they do it, whoever it is you're delegating it to, you would say, let me show you how this is how I do this. And after that, they can do it themselves. They're just tasks. They're just simple things. Projects we're not doing. These are responsibilities. So a responsibility is really a repeat task or series of tasks that happen one after the other. So, for example, like I said a few minutes ago, when I have a meeting, I send an email out. I copy Melanie as my PA into it, and that's the trigger. When she gets that, she reads the email, and it's going to be one of three things that she does, and she can figure out which one of those three things it is. She follows a simple process and does a whole bunch of stuff that I don't need to do, right? So let's break that down. So first off is a trigger and a process. Now, triggers are usually time. So you might say, well, every Monday you need to do this, or once a month, the first Friday of the month, you do this. As a trigger, you define the trigger and you hand that over. At this point, when this happens, this is what you do. Or it can be an event, as my email was an event, just something that happens. When she sees it, she knows what to do, right? So you've got those two things that you're looking for. And when you start to analyze the activities, what you're looking for there is you're looking for something that you can recognize the trigger. It's either something that you always do on the same day, well, it's pretty obvious then, or it's something that when this thing happens, when a candidate sends a CV to you, say, for example, or when you've identified a list of people that you want to reach out to, potential candidates, then this is what happens. Or if you run a blog, say, for example, you've had an idea, you want someone to do the rump of the work and give it back to you to finish off, and then they'll publish it and post it out, right? So whatever it is, but my very first coach said this to me: move everything down to the lowest possible pay grade without sacrificing quality and performance. You think about that. Anything you do that you know that if you invested the right amount of time, somebody else who earns less than you could do equally well or perhaps even better, that's on the list. So the first thing to do is to identify the trigger. And then you need an SOP, a standard operating procedure, or just process, So, and that's simple because you just write down what you do. Right now, you can get online, you can get all these SOPs, but they're standardized, they're generic ones. My advice to you is to write down your own. Becomes you then. There's no, oh, well, I should do this. I don't do this, but you should do. No. What do you do? That becomes a standard operating process, a standard operating procedure. Next thing you've got to, so that's trigger, and this is what I do. The next thing is talent. Now, okay, have you got someone that you can delegate this to in the business? If you're a solopreneur, the answer is going to be no, not at all. If you've got one or two people, then maybe you can delegate it to them. If you don't have anybody, you're going to have to outsource it. Now, I'll tell you now, this whole kind of using of VAs, virtual assistants, whether they're onshore or offshore, is fraught with danger because we don't do it properly. We don't delegate properly. This is the problem. We abdicate tasks and responsibilities. And strangely enough, when it goes wrong, we then have to fix it. And we say, well, I tried that, it didn't work. No, it's because you didn't do it properly. That's the problem. So when you're thinking of the person that you would delegate this to, whether they're inside the business or external. And by the way, if you want some names and numbers that you can contact for external people, resource people, let me know and I will send you some contact details you can talk to. But this is where I recommend that people start. If you're a solopreneur, get rid of some of the admin tasks first. Even if it's only 2 or 3 hours a week, that's 2 or 3 hours a week that you're not doing now because somebody else is. Okay, so investment of time to begin with, I accept that. But when you've fully handed over the responsibility to someone, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So we're looking at talent, and part of that is training. So I need this person to fully understand the process and to do it exactly as it's laid out. And that's going to take some time because you give it them, they read it, they don't do what you want. So then you need to pick that up and say, well, okay, that's not quite what I want. This is what I want.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do that Pete is a big advocate of actually is when you're delegating a task, particularly, you explain to them what the task is and what the process is on a call. They then go away and write out the process themselves, and then they bring it back to you and you check it, because two things:
Cool.
takes less time for you, and also it makes it much more like they are in control of the process.
I really like that. I didn't know he did that. Oh, well done, Pete. No, I really like that, actually. Because in my day, when I did a lot of this, we didn't have Teams and transcribers and things. Much easier now. A great use of AI right there. Anyway,
there you go. Yeah,
indeed it is. So it's important to get someone, whether they're internal or external, who's got the ability to do this. Either now you can just give it to them and they can do it, or with some coaching and training from you, which is worth the investment.
Yeah.
Once you've done it once, you don't need to do it again to get them up to speed. So the next point is touch points. So during the period they're getting up to speed, what you shouldn't do is every time you see them, how are you getting on with that thing I gave you to do? It's like another way of saying I don't trust you. So you agree during this handover process certain touch points. Okay, so why don't we check in again next Wednesday and see how you're getting on? It's agreed. It's done. So it's a meeting in the diary. You have your call or whatever it is. Sit together and go through, and you can. Oh, and that's not quite. It's not quite what we want. We want it like this. Gradually, you'll get them better and better to the certain level that you need them to be. So
would you say, Mike, that those touch points are more frequent at the beginning of the handover than they are at the end?
Yes, of course they are. And for some people, they might not be necessary because you just hand them over and it's done. But even an experienced person like my PA Melanie, when I'm handing something new over, we have touch points because I'm not terribly good at explaining things sometimes. So, so it is important that you kind of have these touch points so you can make sure what's being done should be done. And then the last thing is tracking. So when the activity is handed over and you don't want to be checking all the time, you need some way of making sure that what you're asking to be done is being done. So that can be a simple report every week that your EA or VA or whatever fills in to say, this is what I've done. It can be a form they can fill in and send to you. It can be some data that you can print off or get from the system, which shows things are being done properly. Doesn't matter, but you're going to need that in there because it's real quick to look at that data and see that everything's okay or things are going in the wrong direction. So if you delegate a responsibility using those 4 T's, I promise it will be better. It will work better. And you won't have to go back all the time and backpedal to fix problems that were caused because you didn't delegate properly or you delegated something to the wrong person, whether they're internal or external to your business. It doesn't make any difference, quite frankly.
I think one of the biggest pitfalls with delegation is normally people think about delegating when they're burning red hot, when they are, burning the candle at both ends. They have very little time. And so it's not done on purpose. It's not done with intent, but I've got a lot of things on and I need you to get this quickly. And the problem is that perhaps it's very easy to not spend the true amount of time that you need to do. So it's one of those things that if you are at the point where you have some free time element and you're not burning super, super hot and burning out, that is actually the better time to start delegating than when you're, really in the thick of it, as it were.
But if you've gone past that point, if you're watching this and no, I'm running hot, I'm running as hot as I can be, that's why it's sensible just to pick 1 or 2 activities to start with. Because a lot of VAs, you don't have to have a VA 30 hours a week or 35 hours a week. You can have 2 or 3 hours or whatever. It's not ideal, but as you're building up, it's better than trying to do too much. Can you imagine spending all the time you would need to fill up someone's week? Right now, it's okay if that VA is a resourcer. That's absolutely fine because it's one activity carried out many, many times over the week, right? Whatever it is that they're doing for you. But for a VA as an assistant, someone who's actually like Melanie is for me, it's really hard to do that. So you should start small and build up.
Out of interest, Mike, quick question. Some tasks have a very finite period of time that they can be done in. They have to be done on a Tuesday or they have to be done within an hour of receiving an email or something. Whereas some tasks, as long as they get done within a week, sweet as a nut. Is it easier to delegate those tasks that have a less specific time frame than it is to delegate the tasks that are?
It is easier, but whether that's the right thing to delegate is a different question. Yeah, some of these things are easier to delegate than others, but what you need to get rid of is as many of the time that those responsibilities burn your time that someone else who gets paid less could easily do. If you do it properly, they'll do it, and you don't need to do it anymore. I reckon that Melanie, she saves me. This is before I did the 2-day thing. She saves me maybe three days a week. And you think, well, how do you would fit everything in that you do? Well, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't get as much done. She's magnificent, really. And this is before I saved the 2 days, most of which was not doing things, by the way. So, but I genuinely think you go for the biggest wins that you can get. And if that means it's a bit more difficult, well, fine, invest a bit more time, let it take longer, because when it's done, that's going to free up a big chunk of time that you can reinvest into your business, which I know we're going to talk about now.
Yeah. Which also could be reinvesting in delegating more tasks, and suddenly it becomes kind of an exponential. You've got a lot of free time.
So, I like that. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So let me just sort of clarify with the delegation. You can delegate tasks or responsibilities, right? A task is what needs done, when it needs doing by, why you need it done in a specific way, and early on how you would do it if it's something they've never done before. Fine. Responsibility is a little bit trickier, and you would use what we refer to as the 4Ts. So what is the trigger for this task? Whether it's time, whether it's an incident, so something happens, an email comes in, something, and the process that they need to follow.
Yeah, when this happens, do this. Yeah.
And that, again, is very easily done if that's what you would delegate to your person and get them to record back to you. You have to make sure that the person you're delegating to, I suppose, or the technology, has the talent and training, has the ability to actually do what you're delegating to them, which is very important if you're using tech, because often they don't actually have the true capability to do what you need them to do, especially if it's involving another person or a client or an end user. You then need to agree the touch points. So how long is this going to potentially take, and how regularly are you going to need kind of touch points with me if you need clarification? And then tracking these things are actually being completed, not just trusting, especially early on in the process, perhaps less so later on when things are up and running, but you need to figure out, actually, how do I check that this has been done? Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. I wouldn't get too wrapped up on the tracking. I mean, most of the things is that the thing you've asked to be done is done.
Yeah.
And you're notified. I mean, mostly it's real simple, but you need it in place. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So Mike, we alluded to this earlier on in the episode, is let's say I've now freed up time. Let's say I've freed up a day a week. Let's just say. So now I have a day a week. You've mentioned that I could play more golf. Personally, for me, that's not my vibe. And let's say these people are earlier on in the kind of business owner world. What kind of things should they be putting their attention to instead?
Okay, let's talk about that. Now, we use a concept called colored time. I don't have the time today to go through it in depth, so I'm going to give you a taster for it. If anybody wanted a workshop on this, if any one of my clients, particularly watching this, wants a workshop, I'm very happy to run one, as we do from time to time. In fact, Kirsty, we should make a note. I think this would be good for the.
I think it probably would be.
Anyway, so you've got this time, and you want to invest it well. It's like I don't know, a maiden aunt dies and leaves you £100,000. If you don't invest that properly, you'll fritter it away, and you might enjoy spending it, but there'll be very little to show for it. It's very important to reinvest the time that you have sensibly, and that is working on the business. Now, the process that we use for this is a concept called colored time, where you demarcate certain activities and give them a color, and then you decide each month how much you're going to spend on that activity. And at the beginning of the month, my assistant Melanie goes through and puts these blocks of colors in my diary, and then I just put things, actually do things that relate to that in there. So let me give you an example. I'll show you, if I can, what this was. The first week in August. Kirsty's blanked out the actual activities, so you can't see what they are, but you can see there's quite a lot of colored time. Now, there is more colored time in there than we would normally expect. You really want about 50% to 2/3, 60-odd% of your time assigned or pre-assigned. The rest of it is blank. Right now, I like that because I can react to things that happen. If I get an email that I need to answer, I've got the time to do it. It's no big deal, right? But I also want to make sure over a month, all the important things that I have to do get done. Now, let me show you.
For those who, while Mike's just doing that, for those, he's basically, all of his appointments in his diary have a tag on them, which has an individual colour.
It's a categorization in Outlook, yeah. So
there you go, Mike. So do you want to give some examples to those?
I'm going to do that very thing now. So these are not all the categories I use, but they're the very common ones. I'll read them out. I know because people are listening to this as well as watching it. So chargeable work is in green. Client care is kind of a light kind of pinky color. Content production is a rich pink color. Flair support team is light blue. Marketing and promotion is gray. Me time, very important, as you can see there, is orange. Networking is dark blue. Sales is red. I like that. And then working on the business is purple time. And I just want to talk about, can I bring it back to us now, Kirsty?
We can.
I want to talk about purple time.
I was just going to ask, what kind of things would you add into the working on the business purple time?
So the first thing to do is to define how much time you want to free up. You need to start with half a day a week purple time to begin with, right? To working on the business. I'll explain what that is in a minute. So that's your target, is to free up half a day, preferably a full day, really, because the more purple time you have, the more change you have. And in that time, you would do strategy, planning, research. You would action the things that need to change. So we were talking, you made a good point earlier. You'd invest some of the time to make more time. That's purple time. You are rewriting perhaps one of your procedures or processes. That's purple time. You're getting people to do more for you. That's purple time. You're producing a plan which is going to change how you do BD to make it more efficient. That's purple time. So the more you work on the business now, the less you need to work in the business in the future. It's really important. So you have to put your purple time in, and you have to know what it is that you're going to do when that purple time crops up. It's not just an empty box that says, oh, well, I'm going to work on the business now. What shall I do? No, because you have a change plan. Any of my clients will know this because I will have helped you build it. When you get that purple time, you do what's in the change plan, and we know exactly what that is, right? So this is the way businesses change. Without this, you just don't change anywhere near the speed that you would if you got this invested. So purple time is really, really important. Okay. Block it out at the start of the month, so you know you're going to spend so many hours on producing LinkedIn, so many hours on promotion, so many hours on sales, marketing, whatever it is that you do. You know you're going to spend that time, and it's about half to 2/3 of the time that you have. The other time is blank, so you can react to stuff and perhaps even do some things for yourself.
Okay, so I have two questions on there. You mentioned that Mel goes in and puts the blocks of time. So you have previously told her, I need 10 hours on this over the month, and she allocates it out for you. Would you say, let's say your purple time is Friday morning, let's just say. Let's say I do my bit of purple time on Friday morning. Do I then go into the appointment for the week after and say, next week, this is what you're doing when you do purple time? Or do I enter the meeting on a Friday morning and think, what am I going to do today?
No, well, there's different ways that people do it, right? There just is. And one other thing I should say before I answer that question, which is I just meant to say it a minute ago, you can move blocks of time around. So if Mel's put Tuesday morning an hour of red sales time for me, but something else has cropped up that needs me to do it, I'll just move that red time to be Wednesday at 9 o'clock, right? And I do something else. Maybe I've got to write a post or write a blog or something that needs to be done today. So you can move things around, but you've got a pro forma. You know how much time you're going to spend, and it's really, really important to do that. Now, in terms of what you do, I use Trello and I have lists. So I know what I'm working on. So I've got lists of promotional stuff that I can, content that I can write. I've got, we're going through a big change plan at the moment. So I've got a load of projects in there. As soon as I have purple time, I go to Trello, and Trello tells me what I'm going to do. Other people don't do that. They actually put it into the appointment. I don't really care, so long as when that time crops up, whatever color it is, you know what you're going to do, and then it's fine.
Okay. And then the last question before we sort of wrap up is, if I was working with somebody external, like a coach, or if I was part of a group or something, would that count towards purple time, or is that separate?
Well, you might actually strip that out as something separate, personal development, if that's something that you're really interested in. I probably would include it as purple time if there wasn't much of it. It's like an hour a month or 2 hours a month, then fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. If it's starting to mount up, then it probably needs its own color, its own category. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Mike. So I'm just going to quickly summarize up, and then we're going to talk about our next show and our top tip for the day. So the key thing here is that you are freeing time up to either, if you're later on and coming towards the end, to make more time for yourself, to do the things that you like, spend time with your family, or to make the time to change your business so that in the future you get that lifestyle business that it is you're looking for. So what you need to do is you need to capture the things that you're doing, analyze it, and pull out the things that are time consuming, really taking a lot of that you can then go in and action to delegate, outsource, or just stop doing the things for. And when we're delegating, it's really important to make sure the process is there. You've got to figure out what the trigger and the process is for that trigger. Figure out that the person you're delegating to, or the thing you're delegating to, has the talent and training they need in order to be successful. Figure out what your touch points are, and figuring out what your tracking is to make sure it gets done. And once you've freed up that time, key things to free that time up for are colored time. So making sure you're working on the business, making sure you are actually spending that time wisely. And to do that, put that time in your diary in advance. Half a day a week is what you're aiming for to begin with. And once you're in it, stick to it. Do the things that you're supposed to do when you're in there. How is that as a summary, Mike?
Yeah, that's a good summary. I would say this one thing as well. We had a client who'd got no time in the week at all. He was running very hot, and he did his purple time on a Saturday morning for about 3 months, which freed up enough time then for him to do it on a Friday morning, strangely enough, as you mentioned. So you may need to make a few sacrifices to get this thing going, but once it gets going, it finds its own time. It's absolutely fine.
Perfect. Okay. Now, Mike, in a second, we're going to be coming to your top tip. There's a lot of things that you've shared with us today. But before then, let's talk about our show next week. And it's one that we love, but we need to make sure that other people just understand how important
we do love it. Yeah, we do love it. Yeah. So VOTC, voice of the customer, it's about those two things, really: achieving excellence so that you can smash the competition. That's what we're into. And I tell you, VOTC are the most valuable conversations that most recruiters are not having. I can't stress this enough. If you want to be ahead of the game, particularly in this market, you need to unlock what your clients know about you, and what your clients know about the competition, and what the clients know what they want moving forward. You need to unlock that and then act upon it. VOTC will do that for you. It is arguably the most important part of a business, excluding the bit that makes the money. All right. So we struggle sometimes to convince people that this is something that they should do. My God, it would be the first thing that I would do if I was starting a recruitment company now.
Yeah. It fits nicely into that purple time, because the results are the things that are going to make your business better, keep your clients happier, and make your product itself, the actual service you provide, better. So it's something that in this market, when you've got really aggressive competitors coming for your clients, is one that we think can't be missed. So we're very, very excited about it. And that will be in 2 weeks. Okay, Mike. So people are watching this and they're thinking, right, I see the light, Mike. I need to make time to change. I need to do that. And I understand all the things you've given to them. What is your top tip that these people should do?
My top tip is to not try and do it all at once, right? Start writing things down. And as soon as you get a bunch of activities that you want to get rid of, stop doing the data capture and the analysis, and then work on how to get rid of these activities, how other people can do them instead of you, or just not do them at all, right? That is the secret to this. If you try and do like a full month of analysis, you'll end up with this data. It'll be just way too much. Identify, even if you want to do it in time, identify, well, you know what, if I got rid of that, I'd save myself 2 hours a week. I'll do that then. Do that. And then reinvest that 2 hours to save yourself some more time. That's the way to make this a success, I promise.
Yeah, walk before he can run. I love that. Okay, so we have come to the end of the show. I always love these shows, Mike, where it's me and you. But I want to say thank you to everybody who's watched and the comments, the lovely comments that people have put in. Thank you very much. Thank you for my excellent dragon that is there. Thank you for Mike for sharing a lot, even if he is wearing that shirt. You can't have it all, can you?
I like it, yeah. Well, thank you as well, Kirsty, for being the hostess with the mostess. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And we will see you all.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.